Thank you for joining us for this edition of Three Little Pigs. I'm Dan Marion, joined today by my brothers Jim and Brian Marion, who collectively we represent three of the different national marketplaces for real estate. Today, what we want to go over is what's been happening the last 60 days since COVID has stepped into everyone's life and into businesses and all that. Jim's been itching away with some questions. So, Jim, do you want to get started?
Yeah, sure, Dan. I'd love to. I think you raised a good point. We're here at the 60-day mark, roughly, of COVID shutdowns across the country. Maybe a little plus or minus for a few different states, a few days, but overall, we're about 2 months in. So, when we've been speaking before, it's been kind of hard to see the patterns in things because everything's been so new. But now that we've got all of March, all of April behind us, and we're halfway through May, we're starting to kind of see what the market impact has been. So I guess what I'd like to ask both you guys is what massive shifts are you beginning to see in your market that are present here in 2020 versus activity comparisons to 2019?
Well, in California, the California Association of Realtors just came out and said that it's been the worst month-to-month sales decline in more than 4 decades since they've been tracking it, since the stay-at-home order's been put in place, which you could kind of imagine. So we're kind of seeing the effects of things trickling through. There was an uptick in the showings closed in March. It's down about 5% from that. That's probably due to a lot of people that were in contracts, maybe might not have been able to get out or, didn't have enough courage to exit those contracts. So probably a lot of that residual closing kept those numbers bolstered a little bit.
Hmm. And Dan, in Chicago, what are you seeing with the after effects?
Well, I think now coming into what we're starting to see and what we've seen the last couple of weeks really is a lot of inventory is tightened so much. I think we were talking about before where it was down close to 40 or 4 in the mid 40s over the last 60 days. And now you're kind of seeing an uptick on that switch, but you are seeing a lot more multiple offers because the buyers don't have many options, which we haven't seen, just talking to different agents and going through property and losing out on some offers, winning some offers, representing both buyers and sellers on the offers and being on both sides of it. I think what the consensus among a lot of the Chicago agents is that there's more multiple offers going on now than a very long time, and hopefully it continues, but you've got still inventory in a lot of places that is just tight, and it's gotten a lot tighter.
Yeah, I mean, here in the Front Range of Colorado, our new listings are down 36%. So it's really hard to not only find enough properties for people to see, when you're trying to condense your time and maybe show people 3 or 4 properties at once. But we're also having the added challenge of not allowing overlapping showings. So I had an instance this past Saturday where I was trying to show a client 2 different homes, and the one home I could only get in at 10 in the morning, and then the other home I could only get in at either 3:30 or 5:15 p.m. And my clients, were available in the morning, but were not available in the afternoon. So,
yeah,
we didn't see a second home.
That'd be a little too much downtime in between.
Yeah, you can't sit at a coffee shop and just drink these days. So there's nothing open. So yeah, you can't really kill that time. And they were busy with other things. So there's the added challenge of not only low inventory, but the logistics of things. And here in Colorado too, we're seeing sales, single family homes is down about 20%. Our townhome, we don't really have much in the way of condos here in Colorado. It's kind of a rare beast. But our townhome condo market's down about 32% or so. So sizable drops, but with the fact that our inventory is tightened up quite a bit, we are still seeing those multiple offers on certain properties as well, Dan.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, Brian, that I want to ask you about in California. Because I know a while ago when we talked, you weren't even, or the state wasn't even allowing showings now.
Oh yeah, they're all back to, there's some additional forms you have to fill out now prior to showing that the buyers have to fill out, essentially acknowledging aspects of the coronavirus. So they have been allowed now for the past at least few weeks, but now they've become a little bit looser. But just recently with owner-occupied properties opening back up, but you still have to follow the protocols. Our clients are still asking for anyone visiting to have gloves, masks, shoe covers, things to kind of minimize the risk while people, carry on trying to, get to buying their homes and buying the properties that they, need to do.
Yeah, Brian, here in Colorado, we have to do the masks and gloves as well. Dan, are you having to do all of that protocol in Chicago?
Oh yeah. Everyone's in mask and gloves
Okay.
for sure. Listing appointments, mask and gloves are done virtually. Showings though, people want to get through the property still, so showings are still scheduled, but everyone's in mask and gloves. Or we have just like I carry some extra in the car for an agent we ran into forgot their mask, last week. So, but yeah, same precautions.
So, are you guys both? Is there overlapping showings allowed, or is that only you have to have only you as the allotted time frame?
So it's still no more than 4 at a property at one time, and you're supposed to not overlap showings and just stagger them like 15 minutes apart. But stuff that we're used to anyways. A lot of times you don't want people all trouncing through at the same time, so you could keep it under control.
Yeah, definitely no more that open house style.
Yeah.
Everyone come in whenever you want type of viewings these days.
Yeah, I was doing a virtual open on a property over on Wall Street in Old Town, and I had 2 people who tried to get in like during the open that just wanted to come. So I was like, all right, one at a time with 2 separate groups that were through because we're not supposed to, it's still legal to do an open, just the virtual open. So
yeah. And so we were talking a little bit before we started about the sale prices and where they're at. Dan, in Chicago, since you're seeing some multiple offers, are you seeing price increases now start to occur in your market?
So overall, a lot of the markets are up. I was just looking at the numbers from CAR, Chicago Association of Realtors, and the numbers are up 6% to 10% in some of the different marketplaces. So, I think with the contraction of the inventory, you are seeing the push continue on the pricing where a lot of people are like, I'm going to wait around for it to come 30% down in price. And they're going to have a lesson where it's going the other way. Not much, but just, a nice clip. Sellers should be happy and, with the appreciation that I think they should be seeing now.
I think one thing on that with the, a lot of people did, come in looking for discounts. What the difference is, if you look at the numbers, the last time this happened, 07, 08, the mortgage meltdown, the financial situation was much different. So many more people were distressed here, and lots of parts of the country now, people aren't as distressed as they are financially. They're not in these mortgages that are swinging wildly. So you're kind of seeing a resistance to the decrease in pricing and those, bottom feeders coming in for outrageous opportunities. We're not seeing that here. There are some, isolated deals. You're seeing someone very motivated, but if you're looking at the market overall, pricing's basically holding steady, down a point to 3 points in some areas, up a couple points in some different areas. But it's kind of interesting to see how people's investor mentalities kind of changed a little bit since there's not as much opportunity.
Well, what a lot of people don't really realize, because most people only know of the last recession as their only recession. There obviously were huge price drops then, but every recession historically, the only one that's ever seen real estate as a price drop has been the 08 recession. So it's more of an unusual factor to see prices drop during a recession. And here in the Colorado Front Range, for example, our median sale price for single family homes is up about 6.5%. And our townhomes and condos is up closer to 7% in price. And that constricting supply, I think that we're all seeing, is been it's been a hassle for me. I know for the last few years, we're not finding enough properties for my buyers, and it's been, keeping deals from happening. But it's kind of the saving grace of this market now in a lot of ways, in that we're not seeing, so much competition that it's, causing people to drop their prices or anything.
Yeah.
So it's staying solid.
Agreed.
So, as far as kind of to sum things up a little bit in this post-COVID crash era here, what kind of are the key takeaways that you guys feel, that the folks at home need to hear about? Let's start, Brian, with you, just and what you think kind of where the market's headed and what are the major factors to keep in consideration.
I think, I always like to be optimistic. So I think, a lot of people that we're talking to are kind of, they've been evaluated this thing. They're kind of coming to the understanding that, you know, life does have to go on. So we're seeing more confidence out there and people, you know, showing activity requests for appointments and stuff going back up. But I think, you know, these days, yeah, I mean, you just kind of take each day by day and, you know, see how real estate fits into your investment strategy or your housing needs, and, you know, kind of think long term and not be so worried about this stuff, because there's always going to be something that comes up.
Yeah, and I think for, you know, my take on it is, you know, a lot of the sellers who've been sitting on the fence are thinking it's going to be, you know, or is now is a poor opportunity or poor timing to go on the market. I think take advantage of it. Go on. If you thought about selling like this year and now you're like, oh, maybe I'll wait till next year. It's like, take advantage of the market when there's a very low, tight inventory. Money's cheap to borrow. So a lot of the borrowers could afford, you know, homes that necessarily they won't when the interest rates are 4.5%, 5%, 6%. And I think too, that it is kind of, you know, like you guys were saying, just life goes on. The showings have adapted. The way that the agents are doing the business virtually is adapted. But it was also like headiness just exacerbated the process, you know, a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some long-term trends of people probably looking for larger homes. You know, the home office probably being more of a key piece of the puzzle going forward. And just from, you know, my anecdotal evidence of what I'm seeing personally, you know, I'm working now with several people who are living in Denver condos, and they're trying to now find, you know, more space, you know, an outdoor backyard, and you know, more bedrooms than they, you know, had originally, you know, cared about looking for. I just met with a couple this past weekend who, up until this thing, we're actually looking at going from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom condo, and now they're looking for like a half-acre, you know, type of property,
Yeah,
with 4 bedrooms. So I think long term there's going to be you know, some hurt in the condo market, you know, for especially if people have the budget, some more choice. But I don't see, you know, prices going down. I see inventory kind of staying more restricted, and I think, you know, at least in the sub $1.5 million market, I think it's going to remain pretty healthy. And then that market above there, you know, they've got some financing challenges with stock market price drops for maybe down payments, and also the you know, much greater jumbo requirements now. So I think it's going to be a challenge for the next you know, 2 years roughly in that space.
Kind of on that point, real quick, I saw an interesting statistic Zillow put out, and it was the search size increase since this whole thing, and it did go up, but it was only a single-digit percentage, I think 5 or 6% of people searching for bigger homes. I thought that was kind of interesting.
So they're able to track how, like, the average square foot of a property that people are searching for, and it's gone up on their side.
yeah.
Yes.
I saw that same thing, Brian, and I think I agree that you'll see that trend continue to go up on home size right now, for sure, over the next couple of years. And over the last, I mean, if you look over the last 8 years, it's trended the opposite way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you know, people want their space. But all right, with that, we will end it. So thank you for watching this edition of
Thank you.
Three Little Pigs. And stay tuned for future episodes. Have a
Thank
good one.
you. Take care.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care.